And welcome. My name is Marc Blatstein, the physician founder of Physician Prison Consultants. My phone number 240-888-7778. And my efforts are in lessening your sentence or sentencing mitigation. So today's video is going to be on the FBI, DOJ, criminal enforcement. And that's going to be PPP. Those are the COVID-19 loans, cryptocurrency, and telemarketing schemes, and what the Department of Justice intends for 2026. Topics I'm going to cover. So first, artificial intelligence is going to be is one of the DOJ, Department of Justice's number one tool. Artificial intelligence and their analytics that have been there for a long time. They don't sleep, they don't need monitoring, and they constantly are data mining. I give several examples: payroll protection programs. Believe it or not, in 2026, COVID-19 was in 2019. There are still individuals getting caught up in that program fraudulently. Cryptocurrency. Travis Ford, he's the CEO. You're not immune if you're the CEO or a head trader. Telemarketing, these are calls coming in from Costa Rica, so you can be out of the country. They can still nab you. And the Department of Justice is going to be expanding on their wins from 2025. Fraud enforcement isn't slowing down, it's just gearing up. And so I'm going to be jumping back and forth to this particular slide, if you will. And their fraud section, year in review 2025, criminal division, they're going to expand on this in a very, very big way. Artificial intelligence is a drug of pretty much choice. As I said, it doesn't need monitoring, and it constantly is data mining. It's a multi-agent AI. It's not a future concept. It's an operational shift that businesses must prepare to know. Prepared for now, I said here. Rather than deploying a single AI system, these organizations are moving toward coordinated networks of specialized agents, AI agents, that can act independently, collaborate, and adapt in real time. That's crazy. I mean, it's very sophisticated. And whether to go to trial or plea, this is a strategic decision between you and your attorney. There's no right or wrong answer here. If you feel you're in the right, you have the documentation, your attorney agrees, go to trial. I only have one suggestion, and that is you don't want to aggravate the court or the judge in case you lose. But go for it. Preparation, though, what can you do? As soon as you hear that the FBI has been asking questions, there's rumors, maybe they knocked on your door, sent you a target letter, you need great legal representation. And you need legal representation with attorneys that have experiences with cases like you're facing and have extensive experience in federal court, because federal courts and state courts act differently. If, in fact, second, it comes to the point where getting incarcerated, going to prison is unavoidable, preparing for your pre-sentence interview is crucial. It's not just a form you can fill in, especially don't fill it in the first time, because inmates call this the inmate's Bible, because this is going to be your future, your life. And so it takes a lot of time to prepare for it. Will there be a choice, for example, between a minimum federal prison camp, which is freestanding, versus a minimum satellite camp, which is attached to a higher security facility? Now, there are differences. I'm not going to say that a satellite camp, minimum satellite, is good or bad. These are all YouTubes, by the way, that you can click on to get more information. But a minimum camp that's attached to a higher security facility, there's the good and the bad. The good is that you probably will have more program access. You may be in the minimum satellite camp. You may be in the low. But in addition to having more programs available, at the same time, there is a higher sense of security at these locations, and for no other reason that they're attached to that higher security facility. A minimum federal prison camp, which is freestanding, is not attached to a higher security facility. They may not have as much programming, but they also may have more one-on-one interaction with staff for you in a good way. I'm not saying that either is the case. You can't guarantee what you're going to get or where you're going to go. But my process is getting you prepared for your pre-sentence interview, getting your measures on your record. And that is the Department of Justice has published free to you your charges across the World Wide Web in the form of your indictment. Your message, getting it on the record, will take time, but is your backstory a compelling autobiographical narrative? And now, in addition, you can have a placement. You can take a placement request to the pre-sentence interview with the probation officer, as well as to the judge at sentencing. Advice from federal judges: when to start preparing. Federal Judge Marc Bennett: start preparing the narrative before the PSR. before the pre-sentence interview so you can have it included in the pre-sentence report. Acknowledging the impact, and these are all YouTube's explaining what to do. Acknowledging the impact of your indictment. Judges know that crimes don't happen in a vacuum. In a vacuum, they know that the Department of Justice wants the charges. They know that the prosecutor wants prison time. They know that your attorney is paid to say nice things about you. The one person that they don't know is you. And if you're not able to write a compelling autobiographical narrative of your backstory, your story of kind of where you came from, how you got to be in this position, the only thing that the judge will be left to do is sentence you based on the four corners of your indictment and the current pre-sentence report, which is lacking any input from you. What the Department of Justice is doing. So now we're going to get in some of the details. Hockridge and her husband, Nathan Reese, they co-founded Blue Acorn. And I'm going to go to page 55 over here. And these were payback protection programs, PPP loans. The federal court sentenced both Reese and Hockridge to 10 years in prison and ordered them to pay $66 million and $63 million, respectively. And so these cases are coming about still. The next example, cryptocurrency. Oklahoma cryptocurrency investment firm has been sentenced for 60 months in prison, almost $10 million investment fraud that harmed 2,800 investors. This can be part of your own compelling narrative. We're going to go over here to page 59. And in November 25, the federal court sentenced Travis Ford, former Oklahoma cryptocurrency investment CEO, founder, and head trader, to 60 months in prison for a $9.4 million investment fraud scheme perpetrated on approximately 2,800 investors. Ford was ordered to forfeit over $1 million in ill-gotten gains and pay over $170,000 in restitution. So the Department of Justice is being very active, and their planning is going to be based on the successes they had in 2025. Telemarketing, and again, this is the actual report down here at the bottom. Telemarketing, all the way call center in Costa Rica. The federal judge sentenced Roger to 188 months in prison for carrying out years-long telemarketing scheme defrauding victims to the United States. So we're going to come over here to page 61. And here we go. 2025, the federal court sentenced Roger to 188 months in prison for carrying out years-long telemarketing scheme that defrauded victims in the U.S. from the call center in Costa Rica. He was offered $3.3 million. He had to pay in restitution and forfeit $4.2 million. And so these are very big deals. And so how are you going to go ahead and give the judge, explain to the judge, if you don't do anything, like right here, through a narrative to explain to the judge what brought you to this case in your life. You may think you've done nothing wrong. By this point, according to articles, judges believe that there are victims and that you probably did something wrong. So we need to talk out together so that you're comfortable with your story. But if you have no story, they're going to sentence you based on everything that the prosecutor wants. And so the only way you can begin to mitigate your sentence is to be properly prepared for the pre-sentence interview, which is a big deal, as well as listening to other federal judges, including Mark Bennett, who wants to have your comprehensive, compelling autobiographical narrative in your pre-sentence report. This is what the Department of Justice is doing. And the Department of Justice now is going to be expanding on their wins from 2025. Enforcement is not slowing down. It's gearing up. Expect aggressive and possibly expanded enforcement targeting fraud tied to federal programs. However, the new fraud division, which now there's a new one being run by the White House, is ultimately structured. The message is clear. Future misuse of federal funds remains a top priority. The government will continue to rely on powerful tools like the False Claims Act, pursue companies, nonprofits, and other funding recipients. And I'm also saying artificial intelligence. Politics. Who would have thought? Politics is now going to shape the priority. Early signals suggest that the division could operate out of the White House, which I just said, which focuses on areas that may shift based on policy agendas. This adds uncertainty to the mix. Compliance is going to be your first line of defense. I don't care if you are, in the medical world, in the crypto world, in the business world, you're the CEO of a hospital system. The Department of Justice is an equal opportunity indicter. This is just one example of a, let's open this up. And this is, a course that they put together through clinics.com, and it goes through what you can do to help yourself, at least at the very, very beginning. I don't suggest that you rely on this, but it's a big deal. Pandemic related issues are spurning fraud cases. This is happening today. And again, PPP fraud, that COVID-19 was in 2020, 2019. Timing matters. The Department of Justice, as the DOJ structure evolves, early management engagement, rather with counsel. The first thing I said, as soon as you begin to hear rumors, can help assess exposure, manage parallel civil and criminal risk, and respond strategically before an issue escalates. The bottom line, for sure, is that if you're taking in federal dollars, artificial intelligence is working 24/7, 365, doesn't need to be monitored. It's sophisticated enough that um, different goals of different AI systems can begin to work independently. And so you need to be prepared if you're taking and receiving federal dollars. I hope you found this helpful. I am easy to find at physician pre-sentence. Go back over here. Physician prison consultants, physician pre-sentence report service. My phone 240-888-7778. Have a good day.